Welcome back to Democracy Now! I'm Juan Gonzalez. Amy Goodman is in Los Angeles today, where she's attending the Book Expo America's annual conference. The last time she traveled to Los Angeles, she had a chance to interview Gore Vidal, considered one of America's most respected writers and thinkers. Vidal is the author of more than 20 novels and 5 plays. His latest is a memoir. It's called Point-to-Point Navigation. Amy sat down with him in his home in Hollywood Hills for a wide-ranging interview. We broadcast part 1 of that interview earlier this month. This is the rest of their conversation.
I see a photo on your wall that says, to Gore, who made it impossible to look serious like this, or something like that, from Jacqueline Kennedy.
Yes, we all called her Jackie. Nobody called her Jacqueline. And she insisted when they moved to the White House that she be known as Jacqueline Kennedy. To which her sister-in-law, Eunice Kennedy, said, "Why? Because it rhymes with Queen." Oh, those girls.
You grew up with Jacqueline.
I wouldn't say that quite. My stepfather became her stepfather when my mother divorced Mr. Auchincloss, by whom she had 2 or 3 children. And she was on the move, and I was on the move. I went in the Army at 17, so I was out. And my mother married again, and Jackie's mother, Janet, married Mr. Auchincloss.
What did you think of the Kennedys?
Which ones?
Of Jacqueline Kennedy and John, the president.
Well, I never thought of them as being glued together, no. I knew Jack first. Then I saw a good bit of Jackie. And I first got interested in them when he ran for, at the convention of, nominated Adlai Stevenson, and he wanted to be the running mate. And I knew Stevenson, and so he asked me some questions. I realized he was serious.
What did you think of Jack Kennedy as president?
Well, he's a pretty bad president, but by any standard. But he's one of the most charming men I've ever known. Very shrewd. He wasn't taken in by anybody or anything.
What do you mean he was a bad president?
Well, I don't think the Bay of Pigs was a good move, do you? And I don't think quarreling with Khrushchev when he got to Vienna was a good thing to do. I can think of practically everything he did that was basically disastrous and leading us closer to war. The Gores are one of the leading anti-war families all the way back to the Civil War, which, although they were Southern, they did not want to secede from the Union. So I have a whole fix on war that he didn't have. He thought it was romantic. He was funny about PT 109. He said his father made him a hero after he lost his boat. And he said, to my surprise, I came back expecting to be court-martialed, and my father's made me a hero. He got John Hersey to write about him in The New Yorker, I guess it was.
What happened with PT 109?
Well, Jack was not a good pilot, so he ran his ship right in front of a battleship, or its destroyer, I forget which. And it was cut in half. The crew was jumping around in the sea. Jack got decorated for saving the life of one of them, and that was it. From then on, it was one of the great war heroes of all time. Joe Kennedy knew how to manipulate publicity.
How did the shrewdness of Jack Kennedy express itself?
Through observation. The only way it ever does with anyone. He could figure out what people were up to and what they were apt to do. Very shrewd about his own family, and it's very easy in one of those big Irish families to romanticize them and think that, you know, not since so-and-so through Tara's halls, you know, drifted.
What were you doing then? What were you doing in the early 60s?
Well, I had 2 hit plays on Broadway. I published several novels, turned myself into an essayist. See, I couldn't really be published properly because the New York Times had declared war on me. And they saw to it that I'd never be reviewed.
Why did they declare war?
If you don't know the story, it's too boring to go into.
But think of all the young people who are listening right now and who are watching.
Well, I said screw them and I went on. That's for the young people listening. I don't think any of the young people would be as hated by the Times as I was. It was hysteria.
Because?
Well, work it out, work it out. Why would they be so hysterical? They got above their humble station, which is a pretty lousy establishment newspaper. And I don't know, they got vain. They believed what they said about themselves. All the news is fit to print. Well, you know, almost nothing that was fit to print ever got in. And it is as bad a newspaper today as it ever was.
Writer Gore Vidal being interviewed by Amy Goodman at his home in Hollywood Hills earlier this month. This is Democracy Now! I'm Juan Gonzalez. We turn now to the latest part of our series